Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. Before starting, I'd like to thank all of my new subscribers that have come up within the last few days. It's been amazing. And again, if you enjoy my content but still haven't subscribed, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Your home feed can only get better. Now let's get started with today's first story. This post is from the subreddit Relationships and it's by user using a fab throwaway. My 27 female ex-partner's 28 male new girlfriend 24 female is trying to play house with my child 4 female. My ex-boyfriend is James. James and I dated for 3 years and broke up around 2 years ago. Since my daughter is obviously older than 3, it's clear that she is not biologically James's daughter. Her father was not someone who wanted to be involved with her and signed away all rights when she was born, so he is not even in the picture. James and I were originally friends, which grew into a relationship when my daughter was around the age of 1. As my daughter grew a little bit older, she saw James as a de facto parent, a role that he happily stepped up to. She knows that he isn't daddy, but she has the strongest bond with him of anyone outside of the biological family. Our relationship finished owing to a difference in personal timelines. James wanted to buy a house together. We had lived together in the last year, but we each still had our own places and moved to another city for work, while I was happy where I was located. It became a self-imposed ultimatum, and while James didn't actually move, it was clear that our relationship was over. We stayed friends, and he changed from the de facto dad to fun Uncle James to my daughter. We have both made sure that she was stable about the situation, something that she clearly seems to be. As I do with other friends, my daughter and I will occasionally visit James, who sometimes has my daughter without me there for a couple of hours at a time if I have to run errands or something similar. I have no reason at all to worry about James with my daughter, who is always all smiles and 5 more minutes, Mom, when I get back. About 6 months ago, James started dating Tracy. She is someone that he works with, who I actually first met while we were dating. Their relationship itself isn't the issue. However, there have been instances that have caused concern in the past few months. The first was when James invited me and my daughter around for a play date with James's nephew, who he was babysitting. Tracy was there too, which I expected. However, when we arrived and James greeted my daughter with a hug, she commented on how she looked like her daddy, meaning James. Both James and I said that my daughter wasn't James's child, which is something James later said had come up in conversation between them before. She only remarked that she meant they had a strong father-daughter bond, which I thought was an odd thing to say, but ignored. There have been a couple of other times when I have seen Tracy either out and about or at planned events when she has said that my daughter really likes spending time with James, which I obviously know, though I just took it as an awkward ex's chat. The reason I am posting is about what happened a couple of days ago. Again, James was babysitting his nephew and had invited me and my daughter to the park for an afternoon. We get there and everything is fine until my phone rings and I'm told that there's an emergency in the office that I have to sort out because X, Y, and Z aren't picking up their phone. I mentioned this and James and Tracy offered to look after my daughter and stay in the park while I rush over to the office, only a 5-minute drive, to sort out the problem. I'm gone for about half an hour overall. The issue wasn't really an issue, as it never is, and when I get back, everyone is where I left them and all happy. We started getting ready to go home when Tracy mentioned to me that someone that she knew, an amateur photographer, happened to be in the park taking pictures of the landscape and had taken a couple of shots of the group, my daughter included, and that she'd send them over because they were apparently really sweet. I was a bit perturbed by someone apparently just coming over and photographing my child, but I thought glass half full and decided it was only a nice gesture. A couple of hours later, Tracy sent me the solo pictures of my daughter. She says that she didn't give her friend permission to use any of the solo pictures of my daughter on her professional page, but the ones of the scenery and of James's nephew were on there, and if I wanted to give consent, then my daughters could be on there too. They were actually very cute, and I looked on the photographer's page to see the rest of the day. There were some sweet candids of the nephew and some nice couple shots of James and Tracy, but the last picture on there was a family-style portrait of everyone, my daughter included. The caption said something like, "The James's surname and Tracy's surname know how to have fun." I immediately messaged the page asking for the picture to be taken down as it had my daughter on it without my permission. They replied by apologizing for the issue, saying that Tracy had said that the little girl was James's and he gave his consent. I then messaged James asking him not to give consent for anything involving my daughter and to remind Tracy yet again that he is not my daughter's father. He replied saying that he never gave his consent for any group pictures to be on there and he resented the accusation. I messaged Tracy later on making it clear that I didn't want my daughter to be used in any kind of situation where the facts weren't clear, and no, James was not her father. I didn't get a reply. I don't know where to go from here. I don't want to be that ex-girlfriend who tries to get her ex to sneak around behind his girlfriend's back for him to see my daughter, but at the same time, he's done nothing to stop Tracy from acting out this charade of my daughter being James's, and therefore hers. If I just cut them both out, then my daughter will be confused, though I know she'll bounce back. I know that James will be hurt too, but I need to put my and my daughter's feelings before that. It's just getting to me that we were able to be fine and stable through our whole breakup, yet a completely unavoidable situation is what will finish this off. Should I just move on without James and Tracy in my and my daughter's lives? Am I simply overreacting and becoming that ex regardless? Well, OP, you mentioned the word odd in your post, and there's a lot of things that seem odd to me. For starters, the fact that James is still hanging out with your daughter even alone. That shouldn't happen. He's not the father. You stated that many times, and he's not a babysitter. Also, he's in a relationship and you'll probably move on too. What happens when you get a boyfriend? You're just gonna cut off James then? Now, regarding Tracy, either she's lying or the photographer is lying, because if James didn't give his consent, well, then something went down there that isn't right. That is odd as well. And it's for all of those reasons that I think it's time that you tell James, you know what, James? I love you as a friend. My daughter loves you, but we need to take a little bit of distance. We need to separate ourselves and untangle ourselves even more because, well, you're moving on with Tracy. Eventually, I will move on with someone else. And my daughter will be okay because she will. Kids are very resilient when you treat them with respect and you do things right. And I'm sure if you explain it to your daughter in a non-dramatic way that James is going to be doing his own thing, she'll be okay. She's got friends probably and she can do other stuff than hang out with James. And what I mean with all of this, Opie, what I'm really trying to say is that regardless of Tracy's issue with your daughter, if she still thinks it's James's daughter, it doesn't really matter. What I'm focusing on is that you need to separate yourself from James. You guys are over, you're no longer a couple, and you guys are going to move on eventually. And what do you guys think about OP's situation? How would you go about this? Let me know in the comment section. And now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. I am not a troll today says, this seems super simple to me. Don't leave your kid alone with people who want to pretend she is theirs. Let her visit for sure, but with you there too. Done deal. If they offer to be alone with her again, decline. If they push for a reason why, tell them why. Sijin Jin says, I don't feel you are justified in attacking Tracy at all. Take a step back for a moment. In Tracy's life, you are the ex with a kid who isn't even James's, who keeps coming around because James wants to be a good guy. Your relationship with James didn't end because you both stopped caring about each other. Rather, it ended because of some obscure reason that doesn't make much sense. You are a stressful presence in their relationship. But there is this sweet 4-year-old girl who lights up when she sees James and who really didn't do anything wrong. So Tracy is trying her best to support your daughter's happiness, and she is trying her best to support James as well. Okay, she made some comment about how James is good with your daughter and how your daughter really seems to care about him. How dare she? You might feel awkward hearing it, but her comments are harmless. She's just trying to support the relationship James has with your daughter. As for the photographs, she informed you about what happened and she made it clear she did not give permission. It's far more likely that wires got crossed where James gave permission for the photo regarding the nephew and the photographer got mixed up and attributed to your daughter instead. You are looking for a reason to hate Tracy. She isn't trying to play house with your kid. She's just trying to be a good person in this situation. I think you need to take a step back and ask yourself why you're so keen on hating Tracy. It's time to soul search because thus far, she's been nothing but good to you. RTT790 says, it's gonna get more awkward and uncomfortable moving forward as your daughter ages, especially when you get a new partner. Yeah. Best bet is to cut them off and move on. Your daughter is young and will be fine without them in her life. Alright, well, the community gave different angles from, yeah, you know what, you don't need to leave your daughter alone with him, to, oh, you're the bad guy, Tracy's not doing anything wrong, and then somebody who said basically what I said, but a lot shorter, is that you guys just gotta move on from each other and become a good memory. In any case, OP did not respond to any comment, which means we have no additional context, so we move on to the update. But before that, if you're liking the story thus far, go ahead and click that like button. It does help me out. Maybe if you want to write a comment, that helps out too. Now, let's move on to the update. So, I got a lot more interest in my post than I expected. While some were on either end of the spectrum, the majority seemed to suggest that James was too involved in my daughter's life. I had a long think about why I had pursued this route. To clarify to some, I did not force James into this position. He was happy to maintain a relationship with my daughter given that he had been in her life for several years. The comments concerning where my daughter would be as and when James settled down and got married and had kids of his own also made me think. The situation was definitely one of convenience, especially given the fact that our relationship ended since James wanted to move away and I did not. I definitely had no plans to change any of James's life choices, nor did I ever expect him to prioritize myself and my daughter over anything else. Something I seemed not to convey clearly in my original post was that James really is just a friend and has been for the past year, and so because of that, I don't use him for anything that a parent would do. On the he's not a babysitter or daycare post especially, he sees her maybe once every 6 weeks and since our relationship ended, he's been alone with her 3 times at the most. So this is not me using our former relationship as a tool for free childcare. He asks to see my daughter, but I don't make him make time for her. As a final clarification point, this has never been an I want him so you can't have him situation. Our time together will always be cherished, but I do not want to pursue a romantic relationship with James again, and he doesn't want to be with me. On to the update. After reading the comments to my post and thinking over the issues, I decided to send both James and Tracy messages apologizing for my reaction and my heat of the moment accusations the day after I made the post. James responded by saying that it was water under the bridge and he would have been annoyed too in the situation. Tracy's response was different. All she sent was a message saying, "I know he is your daughter's father." I assured her that James was not my child's dad and even went as far as to apologize if I had seemed off with her or if my current relationship with James was an issue. She asked if we could meet up and talk, which I agreed to. We met for coffee and she said that she had been off with me, but not because of my relationship with James. She said that last year she had found out that she was infertile and while James knew and was supportive, seeing him with my little girl, whom she knew he helped raise for several years, got to her, which resulted in comments about him as daddy. She then said that the whole photographer situation was set up. She had asked her friend